I play. It moves with me wherever I go. It's part of my personality. So I wear it on my, not just my heart, on my hand as well. So let me go to the next one, okay? Because you didn't see the topic, right? Who's into this? Just 1, 2, 3. I thought the world would have their hand up. Simply because we are getting into December. What's happening in December? Bangalore, Ahmedabad, Bombay. Okay, what else? I'm a little old school. Okay, Margadi, okay. What else? 18 till I die? Summer of 69? No? No takers? Okay, so it's Coldplay. All right, not really Bryan Adams, is it? Okay. What about this? What's happening out here? I know, we are all getting into that space, right? Or just gotten out of that space. Okay, all right. So there's some conversation going on, there's some communication going on. Somebody is saying something, and I'm sure the other person's listening as well. So, we're trying to, as part of this use case, like they called it, bring a couple of these things together. And how does it relate to what we are all talking about since morning? What were we talking about since morning? AI. Okay. MR, I heard in the previous panel discussion. What else? Okay, analytics, socialization, personalization, you said. Okay, what else? Yes, a seat in the boardroom. Okay, say he dropped something which is really very close to my heart. Okay, all right. Okay, so what we're trying to do as part of this short conversation is to bring it all together. And how are we going to do that? I'm going to lean on all of you for a lot of things that you probably are passionate about. I'm passionate about these 3 things. And as a workplace transformation professional, for me it's not just about what happens in the workplace. It's also about what happens over the weekends, right? And I like to kind of connect all these things, and that's what I've tried to do out here. This is something that, these are a few of my favorite things, and I try to bring them together because that's what has been meaningful for me. And I hope you're able to relate to it. We had some other kind of music a while ago, but maybe I'm going to be talking about something which is slightly different. Yeah? Any golfers here? Badminton, soccer. You said soccer, badminton, golf? Badminton. Okay, so let's flip it a little bit. This might be meaningful for me, but I'm just going to be looking at, so how do you improve your game in badminton? And I'm not talking about the professional sport. Even if you're an amateur player, what do you do when you go back time and time again to play on the badminton court? Super. 10,000, okay? 10,000 times you repeat yourself and something happens, the magic happens. It doesn't happen overnight. You look at data. Where does the data come from? Okay. Okay? And what else? How do you do those things over and over again? What are some of those indicators that you want to either repeat or change? Okay, what else? Okay, done? You develop your skills. And that information comes from somewhere. We're not just, yeah, please. Yeah, you watch their technique, you see what's worked for them, what's not worked for us. I can just quickly relate to a couple of these things. So here we're talking about when I go for my practice, I've got to hit a couple of practice shots. 50, 100, 200. There are times when I just get off the golf course because I know my game is just not okay for whatever reason. So I go with my swing. It's important that I get my swing right because when I don't get my swing right, I come back cursing the golf course or the game, right? So I tried to go ahead and do my practice, and then there's a lot of analytics that comes into play out here. Yeah, like you rightly said. So here we have somebody who's mulling over, why is it that I don't have that hole-in-one? For a golfer, hole-in-one is really good, right? Or a birdie, or not a bogey. So, it means that a birdie means that if you're supposed to take 4 strokes to complete one hole, I might finish it in 3, and that's when it's a birdie, right? But sometimes we do a bogey and a double bogey, which means we, take 5 or 6, right? So those are all so how can I avoid the bogeys and the double bogeys and try to go towards a hole-in-one or a birdie? And that's what this guy is mulling over. Where does the data come from? Okay? In golf, we have something else. And in all other sports, we have that. Sorry? Previous record. Yeah, and if it's a stroke play, in my 18 holes, and I'm just kind of relating it back to golf. In the 18 holes, a maximum number of strokes that I can have is 72. If I've done an 80, I know it's been a bad game. So I keep looking at that data. I fill out the sheet every time. But I also have a coach and a caddy. My caddy also tells me what to do, because there are times, not in a tournament, there are times when I know that I've probably used the wrong club. Yeah, we have to take a maximum of only 14 clubs in a golf course. Okay, so I could have used the wrong club. I could have had a bad swing, and a whole lot of that depends on a couple of other things. So here I just want to show you how analytics plays an important role, not just when we are consulting with a banking organization. So from my organization, we've been doing a lot of work with Australian Open, and we do data analytics for them where the players get to see what kind of backstrokes, what is it? I'm not able, who's a tennis player here? Who's into tennis? Yeah, the forehand, the backhand, all of those things, right? So we actually track those patterns, the analytics, and it's shown up there for the player to take a look at and use it whenever they want to. So I just want to show you how this is also about, if I have to miss that, the hurdle out there. Okay, sorry, I was not supposed to do that. If I have to miss that water body, they're called hazards. And these are hazards that we have in life, right? How do I avoid that hazard? And that's when the kind of stroke that I've played, or the kind of club that I've used to play that stroke, will tell me why I've either got it into that water body, which for us is a hazard, and then we end up with a penalty. How can I get it out onto the greens, right? So which is where, you have your putt and all of those things. So analytics plays a very, very important role in many kinds of sports, and I was talking about golf. You're all talking about various other sports, which is also very interesting. Soccer, for that, big money's out there, right? So I'm sure they have data out there, they have analytics that people are just gleaning through to make certain inferences. So I go to the next one, which is, you can't see that. What does this tell you? You all had a show of hands about December. Statistics about? Probably I'll show you this. Does anyone know what this instrument is? No? Indian classical music? Yes, that's the one. It's a morching. Yeah? So why I brought this in is this plays such an important role in concerts and kacheris, but very few people know about it. We probably know about the veena and the flute and the mridangam and all of that, but we don't know this. But nevertheless, what does this data tell you? What are these numbers? It's not data. Data in some sense, but what do these numbers tell you? Okay? Okay? In some way, yes. Okay, let me just share this with you. In Carnatic music, we have 72 Melakarta ragas, which means that they are the parent ragas. Okay, and I'm only talking about Carnatic music. In Hindustani music, it's very different. So look at this. Look at how this data can be played around with and the permutations and combinations that will emerge. There are 1,000 Janya ragas, which are, if I translate it, they are the babies of the Janaka ragas, of the parent ragas. So now look at the combination. There are over 30,000 raga combinations that can happen, and they are continuously dynamic. They're continuously growing. Because each one wants their identity. They either want the Janya raga to play a little bit of precedence over the other, all of these things. So what I want to share with you is imagine the massive data that we have out there to try out different ragas. And now when you're talking about bringing in AI, or when we're bringing in a lot of technology into music, look at the power, the art of the possible that can unfold, right? So on this note, I just want to share this piece with you. Now do you see a connection between this, what we have out here? Any connection? Does it resonate in some way? Are we still looking at banking numbers, pharmaceutical numbers, medical profession? There's life out there, right? We're talking about music, we're talking about games. These are things that we involve ourselves in. Or take the example of about 3 weeks ago, there was a book on the 1,000-odd native species of trees of Bangalore. There was Professor Raman who had come out with a book, and it's going to be out in the open, I think, in another week's time. Look at the way in which we can start identifying the trees that we have around us. It's not just about what we do in the workplace. Data analytics, telemetry is relevant to our everyday life. If I go back to the music example, now that we have Bryan Adams and Subbalakshmi out there, look at the way in which you can see the patterns in Spotify. You want to identify some kind of a song, you want to keep listening to it on loop. How does all that happen? It's because of the patterns that they're able to recognize and the recommendations that keep coming in. And that's the power of how analytics has immersed itself in our everyday life. Okay? So I go to the last one, which is the bringing together of all of this. What does it do to us? Now we're talking about AI, but we're also talking about human intelligence. One of the panels or one of the speakers spoke about that, right? Now, what is the most important thing that we can take back from the fact that analytics is here to stay and it's kind of immersed itself, or it's become very pervasive. So what is it that you can take back from all these connections? You can draw insights. What else? Okay, sales for which one? What would you have in mind? Because sometimes you resonate with different images or different aspects of whatever we're discussing. What kind of sales performance are we talking about? I'm not talking only about the workspace. I'm also talking about the weekends. The success stories. Okay. What else? Don't we also take the GPS routes depending on what the analytics is telling us? We do that, right? And it also recommends at times that, hey, you know what, there is some kind of impediment on the road. Do you want to take a different route? Right? That's also based on analytics. What's happening in our everyday life, what's happening around us. Yeah? And coming back to you on the sales performance, could you tell me something more? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. It is analytics. Why are we getting Bryan Adams a second time to Bangalore after about 8 years? We're getting Coldplay again after a shorter while, right? He was there about 5 years ago, is it? 5 or 6 years ago? Yeah? So it's an analysis. It's because people want more of them. They've enjoyed the music. Yes, it does. Yeah, I see the connection. That's really nice. Predictive analytics, right? Oh. Hmm. Yeah. It's magical and scary also because it listens to whatever you're doing and then tells you that, hey, you know what, if you've been surfing for a particular product, I'm already here. Would you like to buy me kind of a thing? But yeah, the Instagram recommendations that come in. Any other things that you're able to relate to? What are weekends like for you all? I'm sure it's not work. We're done with appraisals. What is relaxation for you? Activities what?
It can be fun.
Okay.
It can be sometimes learning personal space time,
Okay.
etc. So it can be eating food, playing some games.
Okay.
Or
Playing
going
some
out.
games, reading some books based on recommendations that have come in from people or some book that you've read of that particular in the past. Somebody was talking about Alan Toffler some time ago, right? Yeah. What else?
Yeah. Eating good food.
Eat outs.
Yeah.
Bangalore is the place for happening place for anything food, right? Gourmet food, artisanal food. You have all of it out there. Where does that information come from? Right? There's people who are doing an analysis and giving you reviews, but there's also a lot of massive data that is out there that's getting churned and telling you, hey, if you're in this locality, if you're in Kormangla, please go to this place, right? Glens or something else, okay? So if you're talking about coffee, I come from the hills, from Coorg, so please go and have rustic coffee, okay? So now, the only thing that I want to kind of close this discussion with is, there is in all of this, whether it is the sport, the music, and the last part of it was about coaching. When you're having coaching conversations, there are so many processes that need to be followed, right? There's contracting, there's discovery, and in each of this, including analytics, there are certain processes that need to be followed. And I want to bring us all together to say, when we talk about processes, it's not something that happens only in the workplace. There's a lot of that we are adhering to in our everyday life. And it's become a part of our DNA to some extent. But then we don't look at it as processes because this is something that we enjoy doing. And it's a weekend activity, like one of you said, right? So there is the mind that plays a role out here. If I go back to any sport, if I have to bounce back 100 times, not played a great game, but I want to get back to the golf course or to the badminton court to play again, that's a mindset, right? I want to change my style of the game, and I go by what kind of analytics I've seen out there. The next one is the body. How fit am I? Right? The physical, the mental, and the emotional. Am I getting drained when I look at all of these things and say, hey, you know what, leave all this. I don't want to play all over again. And that's when there is that mental state. And all of this are analytics. We may not be looking and reading the analytics continuously, but it's telling us a lot of information. And in order to excel in whatever we do, right, over the weekend, during the week, whatever it is, our mind has to get into that flow state, that blissful state, when we end up doing things in an unconscious manner without even realizing what we are doing. And that's the power of analytics, that it has pervaded all our lives, and we know that we kind of lean on analytics, but we may not be doing it in a very conscious way, or may not be even aware of it. And that is the message that I wanted to leave you with, that it's not just in the workplace, but it's in our everyday life that analytics plays a very important role. So on that note, over the weekend, please go ahead and follow your dreams and your hobbies, play the game, listen to the music, do your talking and your communication, and make sure, and even without realizing that analytics is out there telling you something in a very silent, quiet manner. Thank you very much.